Let's talk about the game on Sunday. There's been a lot that's happened in the United fan base with news today. We'll talk about that later in the show. Clive, let's start with yourself. An interesting trip up to Old Trafford to face the mighty Manchester United languishing in 14th and the mighty Arsenal in 2nd. 2 points dropped, or happy to get out of there with a draw in the end?
Well, after watching the first half, I'm thinking, I wonder if you get 4 points from here. Because United couldn't keep the ball on the pitch and we were quite dominant. And then, of course, the first shot against us goes in, which it's happened before, hasn't it, Rory? It happened before. And then by the end of the game, it was a bit of a 50-50 contest. And I was a touch relieved, but overall, we didn't quite be the team we should have been on the day. But that's it.
How did you see it, Rory? I mean, we spoke a little bit before the show about some Arsenal fans predicting a heavy win, and obviously 7 goals against PSV, even though you haven't got the strike force. So, are the problems there? You're facing 14th. Man United are awful, but it didn't go that way, did it?
No, and to be fair, I didn't think it would. I thought it'd be a 0-0 draw or a 1-0 Arsenal win, because it was obvious that United weren't going to set up in the way that PSV did. Even going into the game, I think Amorim just talked about surviving
mate.
And getting into that Sociedad game. And shock, our problems weren't solved in the space of a week with no players coming back. So, no, it was predictable. It was frustrating to concede the goal in the way that we did, which obviously then set us back. And it's 2 points dropped. Will those 2 points have an impact on our season? Probably not, which is why I was surprised by some of the sort of head loss in the fan base after it. Obviously, not beating this United team is embarrassing, arguably, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, for you, Ryan, and should I say for us?
Yeah.
I would say your favourite player. Is your favourite player Garnacho or is it Bruno?
Probably Bruno.
Yeah.
But, I'm in the Garnacho fan club now. I find myself defending him every other week. That's why. If Garnacho has a bad game, the group chat goes off these days.
And you do defend him. But yeah, Bruno is your favourite player. And listen, Bruno's a player who has taken massive criticism, from Roy Keane, and a lot of people in our fan base are divided. I don't quite understand why, but that's what's happened. A great strike from him. To put us 1-0 up, and a good performance from him. How did you see his performance, and overall for us in the context of our season and what we've got going on this week as well? How big of a point/performance was that?
I think it's something to cheer about at the end of the day. We haven't had that for God knows how long now. So it was good. It was, on reflection, I feel like it was a fair result as well. You could argue maybe we had the bigger chances. But on reflection, it was a fair result. Bruno Fernandes, let me tell you something. Who else but Bruno? I had the game down for all banter aside for a draw as well. I wouldn't have been surprised if Arsenal edged it. But I mean, Garnacho had a good game as well. He was going at the Arsenal players too. But Bruno Fernandes, like you say, with the Roy Keane comments, I mean, we spoke about it on this show before. When Roy Keane makes those comments about Bruno Fernandes, what it does is it opens up this discussion all of a sudden about our best player. Is he good? Is he a good captain? Is he a good player? For a lesser player with a lesser mentality, that could affect him. If that affects Bruno, we are done for. We are completely done for. But he comes in once again, he's clutch. Yeah, you could argue, I'm sure there will be an argument about the free kick, about the ball being back, but it's still a good strike. He still has to get it up and over. And I was just so pleased for him to get that goal, I have to say.
Yeah, it was a massive goal, a massive moment in a point of the game before half-time where we usually concede then.
Yeah.
I was literally having shades of Fulham, right? Going, right, we've stayed in this game, there's not been much in it. It's just before half-time, we conceded 2 corners to Fulham. The second one, we conceded a goal. And I just felt, I don't do that against Arsenal. And it was actually the role reversal where we managed to unjustly nick one, if you want to call it that, before half-time.
Yeah.
But I do feel, though, Clive, I'm going to come to you on the free kick, but before I do feel like tactically, yes, we surrendered possession, couldn't really keep the ball well, wasn't much of an attacking threat at all. I think that was the game plan. I think the fact that the manager was talking about surviving this game. And I think we have to look at what Arsenal's Achilles heel is right now. And that is setting up against a team who sit in and say, come and break us down without your main elements of firepower. I've seen Newcastle do that to you. Actually, when you had players, I saw them do that to you in the 1-0 they had at St James's. Yep. Then across the 2 legs in the Carabao Cup, they were really good at that. I saw Forest do that to you. I saw West Ham nick a win by doing exactly that with the João Bowen goal. So the blueprint of how to play against this Arsenal team when you're inferior is that. And I would argue Newcastle they got a lot of firepower going the other way. So I wasn't surprised to see us set up like that. And actually, in the other 2 games we played against you under Ruben Amorim, 10 men at the Emirates, and even before we went down to 10 men, similar pattern, frustrate, try and nick something. Bruno did the same thing that night. And the game before that, the 2-0 in the Premier League, 2 set pieces, but by way in the open play, I thought we actually did okay, and we didn't believe in ourselves enough going the other way. So the blueprint of beating Arsenal was always going to be playing in that way. But the free kick, David Raya, he went on to have a sensational game, but was he at fault for that free kick?
Okay, I'm not having you get away with the
I tried to put that in there. But don't you think that's true?
No, that is true when we don't win the game. When we do win the game, like last year we scored a record amount of goals against teams that play against low blocks. It's been a problem for us, without a doubt.
Since you've got the players missing, I mean.
Yeah, since you've got the players missing. Well, if you lose your forwards who have that explosion, that individuality, we're a team that builds up in wide areas, and then we come off the sides. With Bukayo Saka, to be honest, if he's got 2-on-1, he's quite comfortable with 2-on-1. If he has 3-on-1, it comes out of there and we have an overload somewhere else, right? So it's a big part of what we do. You could say we are overly dependent on wide men, and if you are overly dependent on very good wide men, have more than 1 or 2, to make sure you can underpin and ensure your strategy of how you play. I'm fine if we attack in wide areas. I'm fine if we want to go for blocks, but we must make sure we have enough players in case we lose. I'm not sure anyone could foresee 4 top boys going, but there was always an overburden on Saka anyway, if we're honest. And he is the man. I mean, he is everything to us when it comes from an attacking point of view. And so that is the blueprint. And when you've got a centre midfielder up front and a 17-year-old on the right wing, that's even more the blueprint. But players change things. When players come back with those abilities to move through lines and penetrate, then we'll look different again. But some of this weakness is on us. We haven't quite fortified the squad to make sure we can attack.
You didn't replenish it at the right time when you could see those players were missing that missed opportunity.
We took a gamble. The volume of games, 11 games in 36 days, and then we had like 7 games, like 6 or 7 weeks. It's like, they thought they'd get to that point and they'll be okay. But we lost 2 people just after the transfer window. That killed us, really. Stone dead. But as for the free kick, this wasn't my analysis, it's Shay Given's analysis on match of day 2. What Raya was doing, he had a view of the ball, and that's why he was too far to the right. And so what Man United did, unfortunately or unfortunately, Xerxes moved Partey into that block, so he couldn't see the ball.
Oh, the gap in the wall, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yeah.
He could see the ball all times, and he was waiting until he comes up to it, then move. But suddenly, that got blocked. Bruno takes it, and he doesn't see the ball until it hits the top of the wall. And that's why. The fact the wall was in Salford and was a different...
Oh, here we go. He's got his measuring stick. He's got his meter stick out now. Come on.
The fact the wall was that far back as if he had a front row seat in the stand was another thing, right? But that made it easier for him also. But for me, that's a little bit of naivety on our part. We should be arguing that fact. We should be arguing the referee. It's very difficult, but that's my feeling.
But naivety there, Rory, in terms of them not creeping forward a little bit of street, being a bit streetwise, saying we're a bit far. Let's steal a couple of yards here.
Yeah, well, I think later on in the game we had a free kick and United were trying to push it.
Yeah.
He measured it out far. I don't know if he's grown legs, the longer stride or something, because Anthony Taylor couldn't measure it out. But yeah, at least United fans were trying to push themselves forward. I think with Raya, for me, the big thing with standing so far to the side in the way that he did, he's just inviting Bruno to put it there. And the majority of free kicks that you see missed either hit the wall or they're off target. Because of where Raya stood, Bruno's looking at it going, I don't really need to hit this top bins.
Exactly.
If I get this on target, there's a good chance it's going to go in. So for me, it was poor and it was frustrating. But yeah, and to be honest, the amount of talk about the 11.2-yard wall is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't think it's...
I'm with you on that. I just think whenever you see a free kick go in, that first glance, it always looks great. So it's up and over a wall and you go, wow, what a goal.
Yeah.
As soon as you see it back, for me, if a free kick's not really in the corner, sort of,
It looked weird, didn't it?
Because it was a good strike.
Yeah.
Like the trajectory of the ball, the pace of the ball, the width, that's great. But the actual position of the goal, it went in, and Ray is still miles off getting it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's not right.
Yeah.
That's not right. If it's off the stanchion, or if it's posting in, or it's full stretch and it's right in the corner, you go, tell you what. And I'd love to do that to Bruno and say, no chance for the keeper.
Yeah.
But Ray has got that all wrong. But what he did do for the rest of the game, Clive, is pay you back.
Yeah.
Because that was shades of De Gea 17-18 at the Emirates.
It actually was. To be fair. It was saving the Titanic.
I thought I'd forgotten that. But he's been one of our players this season, to be honest. And if you look back over the whole season, I can think of many big saves he's made in games that we've won. And so those saves do change the course of the day, right? So he is a top-class keeper, and he's transformed how we play, because he is an extra man for us. And he allows us to build up how we want to do and progress the ball into those areas where we can't penetrate at the moment, right? So he is a key part of that distribution.
From our perspective, Ryan, let's talk about some of the performances from our players, because I want to talk about when it's I've been saying this, when it's been so bad, which it has, it's been a horrendous season, it's sometimes difficult to see small little rays of light trying to peek their head to say, I'm doing all right. But Lenny Yoro, before he come off, but Matthias de Ligt, he's in recent weeks / months, he's really starting to show that he's a competent defender.
Yeah, just solid. Just solid. You know, you need those players that just provide 7s out of 10s all the time. And it looks like De Ligt could, you know, evolve into that kind of player. It's a shame that Yoro's hobbled off as well, by the way, because he's so young. And this is the thing, like, we have been over-reliant on young players. Like Ahmad, for example, like, we've really felt that, and he's so young as well. But there's been some really good performances in there. I know Dalot is getting a bit of slack at the moment, isn't he?
It's not a bad season.
It's such a difficult one with Dalot, because he clearly possesses, he's got a bit of baller about him. He clearly possesses some good attributes, but just his decision-making at times, I mean, with flashing back to squaring it across for Hojlund, I felt so sorry for him. We talk about feeding off scraps, so there's still a lot to do in this squad, and there's still some players that will come under some scrutiny, but there's rays of light, as you say. I mean, Garnacho, as I say, Garnacho fan club, but he was direct, and he's the only player really from my perspective who just attacks players, and that's exactly
he's the only player we've got at this, with who we have available as well, because Ahmad's not there. He's the only person in the team that can actually he's a dribbler.
Yeah.
All the rest are not that. Kobbie Mainoo, when he gets back, is not really that type of player.
Yeah.
Mason Mount's not really that type of player. Bruno's not that type of player. He's the only sort of orthodox winger, apart from Ahmad, that we have who can run at players. So he was very important to how we wanted to play, because he's going to be the only outlet. So it's few and far between he's going to get it, but he's got to be efficient. I thought Mazraoui was really good as well.
Yeah, he was.
That was probably his best game for us. And again, Dalot, that ball he plays for him left-footed, I'm thinking, can you find him at the back post? Does really well. Yeah. And you're thinking, Mazraoui, you just got straight to him. But again, top save from Raya to put that past the post. I couldn't believe it. Rasmus Hojlund, actually. I did a piece on United View with a bit of a fan debate. Oh, my goodness. Kicked off massive. Not kicked off, but huge opinions. One side saying, absolutely not. He's not good enough. Like, I don't care about this, that, and the other at the side. He is not good enough. The other side saying, wait a second, this kid's been hung out to dry. It's not his own fault that he was bought for 60+ million with the add-ons. Last season, the conversation around him was, I tell you what, he's got a bit. He's got a bit. So you can't tell me that now he has nothing. And obviously, the confidence now is a massive issue. He has that chance where I think it's Casemiro nicks the ball. Yeah. And time stood still. Probably stood too still for Rasmus Hojlund, because he forgets that Declan Rice is... Actually, he didn't even know if that Declan Rice was there, which
it's the
is
awareness,
problem.
isn't it? That is the
Takes a bad touch and the chance is gone.
I think, you know what, it was one of those, I don't know what you guys thought of it, but, it'd be nice to get an outside opinion, really, but it did stink of a striker who's lacking in confidence, but also that I still expect and want to see that predatory instinct there. And, that is a massive, massive chance at the highest level. So, for me... I don't know. I think he needs some time out. I really do. I've said it before. I said it a few weeks ago. I think he needs some time on the bench. I don't think he should be starting games at the moment. But, I mean, you guys must have thought when Hojlund got that chance.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I think if it's anyone other than Declan Rice behind him, he probably gets away with it. He probably gets away with it. It's unbelievable from Declan Rice. Yeah. But I do just feel like there's no confidence there. And I feel sorry for him. I think he's come in, he's a young player, wasn't really given any time to adapt to the league. That Dalot chance, the opportunity in the week to put it across to him.
Yeah. Clive, as a neutral in this debate, do you think Man United fans should be patient with him? If he was in your team, under the circumstances, Arsenal 14th, a lot of change, new manager, etc. Given the circumstances, if this was happening at Arsenal, would you want your fans to be more patient with him, or would you lean more on the side of, I don't think this guy's good enough anyway?
I would be patient with him. He's young. You want to build your squad value and keep your wages under control. Leave some of the older players, they need to go and spend time with the younger players. When he came in from Atlanta, he would score goals from crosses. That was his DNA. One-touch finishes, crosses. What's he not getting at Man United at the moment? He's not getting hardly any crosses. So he's not set up to succeed. You spoke about Dalot and Mazwari earlier on. They are fullbacks. They're not wing-backs. They're being asked to be wing-backs. And now we're judging them, well, you guys are judging them as wing-backs. Is that fair? This is a system issue and you haven't got the profiles of the system that you currently want to play. That's it. And so now you're judging people for a different prism. And I feel for those players. Well, trust me, we've been here, Rory, haven't we? I'm not here to have a laugh.
Yeah.
We've been here when we have people on Champions League wages and we're in the Europa League. And it's a problem. It is a problem. And I can see where the club are trying to go to change that.
Yeah. And for you, Rory, just with Raheem Sterling, I did see from where I was sitting, some of the screens kept panning to Raheem Sterling. Of course, overlooked. He is a forward, and if we're talking about Raheem Sterling in his entirety, a highly decorated player, vastly experienced player, and he's played, false nine for City before. He can contribute, right? Why do you think it's gone so wrong? And do you agree with the fact that Mikel Arteta is overlooking him, even though you have no forwards?
No, I think we've seen him come on, and I feel sorry for him. I think his legs have gone. I think he knows it. I think the club know it. I don't know what Chelsea are going to do with him, but it's sad to see. But you look, he's had a long career. Those legs have done a lot of running, and no, we've seen him come on, and I mean it's unbelievable. He cannot take a player on. His passing isn't great.
Is that a confidence thing? Or is he, in Space Jam where they just put their hands on the ball and all the power's gone? Is it that, or is it a confidence because he knows Arteta doesn't believe in him? He hasn't had a run now. He can't get a run of games as well. So if he does come on for a minute or two here, you're not going to play the next game. Or is it just he's done?
It's such a fall from grace, guys, because he's not old either, is he?
Exactly.
Are we saying he's peaked too early?
Yeah, because he has been around since he was 18.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's one of those. It's like he's not old, but if you looked at, for example, the number of games he's played compared to like an Ollie Watkins, I think they're a similar age, but it's an unbelievable difference. And yeah, for me, it is a confidence thing, but I don't see how he's going to regain that confidence because his body can't do it anymore. And that injection of pace that he used to have, you just don't see it anymore. So, look, could he be used against PSV in the week? Sure, because we need to rotate other players. But it's damning. It is damning for everyone involved in the decision to bring him in. That at the weekend against you, we brought on Kieran Tierney at left wing. Our fifth choice left back, who isn't even meant to be at the club anymore realistically, coming on instead of Raheem Sterling. Yeah. And that's the only attacking player that we've brought in the last 18 months. So, we all know we've made mistakes. I don't think anyone probably predicted it would go as badly as it has to Raheem Sterling. I think at the start it looked questionable. There was a feeling maybe you give him a few months to get up to speed. Maybe he's not trained properly at Chelsea, but no, it just didn't work, did it? It's a shame.
Yeah, it is. It is a real shame. I'm a big fan of Raheem Sterling in terms of his career as well, and I don't want to see him go out like that as well. It is quite sad.